the ship to go. Now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Logic Library, where we use logic to index all our books. I don't know if that makes any sense. How you doing, John? How you doing?
I am good, man. I am just, working on our new Logic Library Dewey Decimal System to get our card catalog going.
You know what? I always hated that about libraries. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be, but I guess it worked. I guess it works.
To this day, it still works. But who goes to libraries now?
You know what? It's funny because even when I started like really going a lot, which was, I'm going to give my age here, which is the late 90s, mid to late 90s, I mainly went, especially for my high school, I mainly went in there because it was the only place that had a computer. So I was going to the library to use a computer. I'm truly dating myself right now, but yeah, that's the era I grew up in.
Same here, sir. Same here.
Yeah, and not to get too much on the tangent, when me and Carrie was going to the public library in Brookhaven back in the day, Carrie was like, he was on a computer. He had like a whole website and everything before I even knew how to, like, how are you doing this? GoHuntCentral.com, shout out. But man, let's get into what we're here for, which is the Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko. We're going to talk about chapters 9 and 10 today. And the first chapter being chapter 9, Moving Day. Sisko, the young Sisko finds love. How did you takeaways from chapter 9, man?
Well, first I have to give kudos to the writer, because, obviously it's been a while since we've done our last review. So, going into it, I said, well, I really need to go back and read the previous so I can get caught up. But I didn't because I was kind of pressed for time. But it did a really nice job in the opening just to kind of recap. Because, like, my first question was like, okay, how old is Ben at this moment? Like, I don't quite remember where we stopped. So it did a great job recapping that. Now, as far as, like, opening up in this chapter, I mean, it was good. It was good, but it was kind of, it's the kind of cliche boy meets girl situation, with a slight New Orleans twist of showing up with a king cake.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought it was interesting, man. And I don't know if we ever mentioned Sisko's previous loves other than Jennifer ever. Yeah,
this is my first time hearing of it. But apparently Zoe Phillips has been a very instrumental part of his early life. So many great things about this chapter. We find out that Benjamin has tried before to court girls and he got rejected. And this was another attempt that he made. Some interesting things about the logistics of moving in Starfleet that I think Mr. Attico did a great job of thinking through, because you would beam furniture directly into your house if you could, right? So I love the setup of everything being that, they made a miscalculation and the furniture is just dropping on their front lawn, and Sisko sees this pretty girl that makes him feel like the summer breeze across the way. What did you think about some of this stuff? Like even the logistics of moving in the Starfleet world.
I originally, as I'm reading that section, this is kind of how I thought it was going to go. It was, he's trying to figure out, why aren't you just beaming the furniture in? They're just beaming it on the lawn. But I'm thinking like, what would Ben's father have done when they were moved? He may have not trusted transporters. He may have told everybody, we're going to do this the old fashioned way, because there's nothing like having to go through the troubles of getting furniture through a door and up the stairs and placing it where you want it and the work involved in it. So I kind of thought like he was meeting a new person, a girl, a beautiful girl in his neighborhood with the same upbringing as he. Like, I thought that's where that was going. It didn't go that way. It wasn't a bad idea. I mean, that's fine. That was just my expectation. But I do like the fact that we kind of get to go through a thought process in Ben's head on dating, you know, because it's not something we've really touched on. It's not something we really heard his parents really give him advice on. And it kind of informs you kind of where his dad may have, you know, fell along, like what he would have taught him if we had, you know, saw that side of the family. So I really enjoyed seeing that. I thought he was going to be shy. I thought it was going to be one of those drug out over the next 3 days. But in classic Benjamin Sisko style, he's like, you know what? I'm just going for it.
This man has unparalleled confidence. He really does. And I think it was his father that made the comment, you just got to do it. You know, I can't remember the exact phrasing in the chapter, but yeah, he just went for it, man. And it
wasn't his father. It was his father?
Nathan. Yeah, he did talk to Nathan as he tried to scurry in and get the king cake or some type of dessert and leave to give the new boo that's across the street. This man has gotten so many advantages off of his love or his family's love and adherence to good food. And this was another case. I thought that was pretty cool. A pretty cool gesture of him going to get a king cake for his would-be boo. Some interesting stuff. Well, some other things I found interesting in the chapter was the fact that she was a dancer. This helped Ben out wrestling, and it did also teach him a little bit of discipline. Getting up in the morning and working out and spending time with his boo. And yeah, it was interesting to see kind of this coming of age romance with Benjamin. And he's always been a chivalrous dude. I mean, from all indications, from what we can tell, he's always been very chivalrous, even from the time we see him on the beach with Jennifer. He seems to have always been a very chivalrous guy. So,
did we get to see some of those ballet moves when he was walking on the hot sand with Jennifer?
Man, that you know what? That scene always throws me for a loop. Because first of all, can we break down the Sisko on the sand scene? First of all, I didn't expect them to be wearing what he was wearing.
Oh God!
But they gotta be.
It was terrible.
It was terrible. But hey, give Avery Brooks credit. He went for it. He didn't back down. But yeah, that I think that is another example of course, in the scene we see he'd already lived through that moment. So of course he had confidence then, but you know, kind of showed us the confidence of Benjamin Sisko a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't think it's a whole lot to this chapter other than him just showing that he found love and in the heartbreak of love, and he had to, funny enough, make the realization that he loved Starfleet more than he loved her, and she never had a chance. Yeah, so that was a good little explanation in that sense, in that chapter.
You know, we haven't really gotten, you know, to the end of the book, obviously. But I mean, we know like the general purpose of this was, you know, a memoir, letter, advice column to his son, to Jake. I'm just making my opinion as of now. I think this would be one of the most important chapters for Jake. Because I think Jake is kind of at that time, and I mean, at this point, he's gone through a couple of different romantic interests. But I think it's speaking more than just relationships, but like what's important in life. And I don't know if Jake is fully on board with the writing thing just yet. I know he really loves it. How much he loves it, we don't know. You know, Sisko still wants him to be in Starfleet, and maybe that would be the case at some point. But it's just, how much do you love something? And do you love it enough to sacrifice something you love not quite as much? So that's kind of what I took from this chapter, of his way of just kind of telling him you have to kind of prioritize your loves.
Yeah, and also he mentions Jake and Marta, and you know, him having to deal with Jake dating a double girl. And he said, sometimes people are only in your lives for a short time, and we need to reflect on who we became because of them. Good stuff there. So we're going to move on to chapter 10. That was pretty short chapter, pretty straight to the point. But let's take a pause here for no commercial break. I want to ask you as we, in between chapters here, dude, have you been watching Star Trek Prodigy? Tell me you have.
I have not, sir.
Oh my freaking goodness. So I'm going to just say this. Let me just say this. I know you probably, I don't know if you got caught up on Discovery yet, but let me just say this about Prodigy. Probably one of the best season arcs of Star Trek.
Wow.
In my opinion.
Wow.
You did watch all of Prodigy season 1, didn't we? Reviewed that. You were on board when we reviewed that, right?
Yes.
Dude, just they're only 20 minutes a piece. Just go watch. It's like Voyager seasons 8 and 9. It's beautiful. Your jaw's going to hit the floor a few times. And knowing how much you love a particular character, I'm not going to say what character. It could be quite a few characters, but you have to watch Prodigy. Have to. And then we're going to come back and we're going to have like a special conversation with you about Prodigy. Even I'm not done. I've been trying to watch 5 at a clip as we do our reviews each week. So I'm up to episode 15, but dude, I'm just telling you, watch it. Watch it, dude. You will not be disappointed. If you watched it and don't like it, I will buy you a lobster.
Well, I'm going to hate it just for that reason.
Your heart won't betray you, man.
I didn't, I've been saying from the beginning that I always thought Prodigy was probably up there with the best. And we don't have to rehash my feelings on Lower Decks. But, I've always thought that Prodigy just did such a great job for animated series. And I know it was probably the intention was to key it more for the younger children, and Lower Decks was more for the older kids to the adults. But honestly, I feel like it's a complete opposite as far as storyline, as far as the arrangement and the character development. And like, to me, that was the animated series that I was looking for. So I am definitely excited to watch it. I have not had time to do so, but I plan on it.
Okay, that makes me happy. And also it gives me hope for, like, if I'm almost leaning toward give us more animated. It's making me lean toward give us more animated adventures with these characters who are obviously older, but they can still play in the same time frame as the 90s, early aughts Trek, and continue those stories with those characters. I just feel like the possibilities are endless if they kind of play in that area. But alas, let's move on to chapter 10. I may be vamping because chapter 9, it wasn't a lot in chapter 9, let's be honest. But chapter 10, we make it to the academy, and the whole family is there in what they call in the atrium area, where kind of the families arrive, with the new cadets. The family arrive on departure center atrium area, and some pretty cool stuff there where we're kind of reading some of the writing, some of the insignia and things that are placed about the atrium. And Sisko is off to fulfill his dream. What do we think about chapter 10?
I mean, how far do you want to go into it? I obviously love this chapter just because we're getting into the trick of it, right? And again, I mean, that's the intentions of the writer. We're getting a view into the Sisko before he's the Sisko we all know and love. But this opening sequence kind of, for some reason, what kept coming into my mind was Star Trek Enterprise, right? Because it's kind of keying back to the formation of the Federation and, the insignia, and it's kind of giving you kind of the bigger feel. Like this so far we've been confined to Earth, and even more than that, we've been confined to New Orleans. Now we're kind of expanding outward towards the rest of the world. Like, I feel like this opening is kind of for the family and for Ben, it's kind of a way of saying, okay, you've been here, but now it's time for you to expand outwards and separate yourself from we're not going to be stagnant in this one place. So it's kind of that, just opening sequences is kind of like the world, your future is a lot bigger than you have seen so far. And it now from this point forward, it's on you. You're on your own.
Yeah. And some cool symbols and imagery there when we're talking about like the Golden Gate Bridge, the Starfleet emblem, the different colors for the different departments. I think they did a great job of kind of going through that stuff. And even these Latin phrases, which I don't know if I've seen them all written down, but some pretty cool stuff there. I don't even know if I should try to pronounce them because I'm going to butcher them horribly. But basically, from the heart, from the stars, from the soul, and from understanding and friendship is what the Latin phrases said. So I thought that was pretty cool. Just ground setting for, we've seen some of this stuff before, but just a little bit of world building for telling, like you said, showing us what type of world that Benjamin is entering into.
Would have been nice to have some illustrations in the book here, like in these pages, to kind of show this setting, because that was the one thing that I kept, and I actually went back and read this a couple of times because I just wanted to get that mental image. Because I mean, all we've really ever seen of Starfleet Academy was like the yards with Bill Boothby and like that main front of the building. We've never really got to see like the inside. Like, I mean, short of what we got in Discovery, but I would have loved to see some imagery and illustrations of this space.
Well, and I was wondering, did Mr. Attico get some of that verbiage or imagery from Picard? Because I remember, wasn't it when Elnor entered the Academy, we saw his ceremony or a bit of his ceremony and him entering into the atrium? I don't know if it's the same exact place. We saw just a little bit with Picard, Rafi, and Elnor in that scene. So we have seen a little bit, but like you said, not much at all.
No,
so yeah, it was good table setting there.
Hopefully we get to see a lot of that in the Starfleet Academy series.
Quite literally, huh? Which we've gotten some word on that. We gotten a lot of the casting actually. So yeah, it's looking pretty hopeful for that series. I don't really know where they're going with it, but I hope it's not teenage angst Star Trek. I hope it's just kind of centered around, the Academy is the home base we always come back to after a mission or jumping on a ship to do some short excursion for a little while, or even if it's something on Earth. Yes, it's going to be interesting though. I have high hopes. It looks like you're pretty down for it yourself.
Yes, sir. I am excited for it. As long as it's done the right way. I do not want any more soap opera trick.
Whoa. What, name me one soap opera trick that you've seen other than Discovery.
Okay. In a way, all Trek is kind of soap opera-ish, right? But never as much emotion as we've seen in this last season of Discovery that just kind of took away from the story overall, which I get maybe, that season, the story was more about the person and the individuals. But again, it's like Star Trek there's some emotion in it, but it's more on pitching an idea and the greatness of that idea. We have to deal with some emotions in the process of getting to that idea and understanding it. But I felt like Discovery kind of went too much into idea. And I don't know if I talked to you about this or I was talking to someone else about it, but it just eerily reminds me of the Dragon Ball Z moments when there's a really good fight and then they spend like 10 minutes of the 26-minute episode staring at each other, discussing in their heads whatever they feel in that specific moment. And you're like, I just want to see the fight. That's what I came here for. So I found myself in Discovery, kind of like, I came here to see a great episode of Discovery, but we spent a lot of time discussing an emotional issue. And I get that. So a lot of times the captain's place, leader's place is to help their subordinates in emotions. But there's also a line there. Like, you can't spend too much time there. There's other people for that. Go see a counselor, go see a family friend. But, you know, captain to subordinate, like, we spent a little time there, but like we have a mission and a job to do, and that's where we're trying to get to. And I've just felt like we spent way too much time on the other side of that. So hopefully that's not the way they go with the new series.
Wow, man, give this man a soapbox. He is on one tonight. I won't comment on that. I love Discovery, but I do get your points. I take it all in jest. I think you have great points there. It is a very different Star Trek.
It wasn't bad at all. Like, I liked it. I really liked it. I enjoyed it, but it just kind of took away. It was a drastic difference from this season and season 1.
See, I thought this season got back on track, but we digress. We digress. I might have to have a different conversation with you about this. I actually freaking love this season of the fifth and final season of Discovery. But you know, every opinion is valid here. Well, let's get into the opinion of our cadet Leperin. You know, I've had a roommate before when I was in college, not you, John. Well, actually, I was out of college when we started roommating. But that once I got to the room, it was just like he was in his corner, quiet, you know, didn't really try to talk. And, you know, I'm quiet too. So two quiet people and kind of to himself. All his stuff moved over here. He was there before I got there. So all his stuff was in the corner set up. So I feel Benjamin Sisko's pain once he gets here and his roommate has delegated him to one side and is not very chatty, very robotic in his delivery. And Benjamin hatches a plan to get even. What did you think about Benjamin yet again running into another obstacle as he ventures out to meet new people and progress in life a little bit? He's had it rough, man. He's had it rough. He can't catch a break.
He cannot. And I blame mom and dad for this, but I also congratulate him for the exact same thing, right? Like, he has a jaded look on the way the world should be because he wasn't really taught about the world that exists. But the world that he was taught about, he was taught how to handle it in any situation. So, I mean, this was a difficult situation because of that. I wouldn't expect you to put the picture up. It was a difficult situation.
Listeners, I put up a picture of a benzite. So imagine coming into your room and seeing that as your new roommate.
I mean, I honestly thought somebody else was jumping in our call with us, and then I saw this face, and I was like, wait.
Oh my God. Okay, I've totally derailed things. I'm sorry for sharing my screen. But
anyway, I said, I blame the parents for him not being prepared to face a different situation, but I congratulate them for preparing him to face things he's not prepared for, if that makes any sense at all. In his defense, though, Wesley had an issue with a benzonite when he went to Starfleet Academy, right? And I think they became...
I can't remember. Maybe he did.
Yeah, they were doing I don't think he went to Academy. He was doing the testing. And I think his competition was I forgot the guy's name. And it kind of started out as being like a antagonistic relationship, but a lot of it was because the Benzonite was just like this one, and it's not really. It's just their culture. Like they're almost Vulcan-like in their logic and their order and the way things should be. They're not very emotional. They're not very chatty. They're there to do a job, and they're going to do it. So I still feel like he handled it well, but I can get his shock, because you go from living with family all your life, and I don't think he's even done a sleepover with anybody, and now you're rooming far away from home with a alien creature you've never met before, you never heard of before.
Yeah, it's always interesting when Sisko has the opportunity to meet somebody different. And, it always brings a different obstacle. And, to your point, a lot of aliens either skewed toward a lot of extreme logic or maybe more emotional. This is definitely on the logic side. And I can't even fault Leporin. I think he was just being himself, although weird and standoffish from a human perspective. But definitely nonetheless, like, whoa, this guy is kind of a jerk. But let's talk about how Sisko gets his vengeance.
He got his vengeance with stem bolts of all things.
I didn't think he had it in him. Reprogramming the replicator to no matter whatever our roommate ordered, it still just put stem bolts on the plate. And when he ordered a beverage, it put hot sauce in it. Like, wow, that's kind of, whoa, bro.
And you know what's even more petty about it? He didn't just do the entire replica. Like, it was only for him. Everybody else could order and get what they wanted. So that means he had to do it to recognize either a voice imprint or a DNA sample. Like, that was very personal, directed, petty. And I'm here for it.
I love that so much of Benjamin's existence revolves around food and his ability to cook. And it's something about someone that can make a meal that's inviting, that feels like home. And he does it here. He, after pretty much giving Leporin the business, he does a makeshift stove on his desk, and he's cooking jambalaya, and the roommates next door, three of them come in and they smell the food, and they're like, oh, can we get some? And he makes new friends all of a sudden. So just some really cool stuff of you talk about lessons and like life things that you can get from this book, and that he's probably trying to impart on Jake. Just ability to cook, just bring folks in, welcoming.
Is that not like just the representation of the South in general? Like when we have friends or we get together, it always revolves around the food. And the better the food, the better the time, the experience, right? I don't know if you've ever gone to someone's house and they've cooked and it was not good food. That experience was never that fun, unfortunately.
Awkward.
But it was it was again one of those great lessons that taught him that really didn't involve anything about space, Starfleet, Federation, but it was a life lesson that somehow, in Dad's wisdom, knew that it would serve him well beyond humans, beyond Earth. And how he knew that, I don't know. Maybe it's just the love of food. But man, I could taste the jambalaya as I was reading it. So I can imagine what everybody else in the dorm room would think. And I know we went to the same college. So, USM, and people would cook something in the microwave or something. Like, you would smell it down the hallway as soon as you walked up. And if it was bad, it was bad. But if it was good, it was good. So...
Yeah, and this chapter also points out something pretty cool where I think we talked about before, like, where does Benjamin really get this love for engineering and ships? He after his transporter accident, he winds up in the hospital. He starts putting together ships. But he goes back a little bit further in his chapter. He says, thinking about it now, I realized the first time I actually started taking things apart and putting them back together was with my dad in the kitchen. It's probably what started me on the path of wanting to be an engineer. So I thought that was pretty cool. And like, even for me, wasn't my dad specifically, but I remember, and he probably got mad at me actually for this, but I used to take apart a lot of stuff and try to put it back together. I don't know why, but when I was young, I found that to be like the most interesting thing ever, to like try to dissect something and see if you can put it back together. So I found that point pretty cool.
So do you think that possibly, here's my thing. I don't remember Benjamin Sisko, Captain Sisko, ever really getting heavy into the engineering anywhere. Now, maybe that has a lot to do with you have the best engineer in the Federation on board, but usually any of our captains that's had an engineering background, we've seen multiple episodes where they've leaned into that for one reason or another. I never really saw that. So my thoughts were, he realized maybe he thought he loved engineering, but he was really engineering ways to be better with people. And that's maybe what we'll see he learns throughout this.
Yeah, there's even a comment made in this chapter about good thing you're not in command or something to that effect. I forget who makes it. It may have been Solik. I can't remember exactly.
It was the girl.
Well, Solik was the Vulcan. What was the girl's name? But it was interesting in a sense of, to go with what you're saying, are they trying to throw us a curveball here with the whole engineering thing, playing it up so much, which he does. I mean, even from this point in the book, it does seem like he truly wants to be an engineer, but it seems like there's something even greater for him other than that. So, and Susie, I think is the girl's name.
Well, it kind of goes back to the previous chapter as well. I mean, he thinks he loves engineering, but there's a true love that he has, and he hadn't realized that yet, and I think he will. And I think he may face that same situation as far as a career path on down the line here. Because, I mean, you may think you love something until you actually start doing what you love.
What you really love. Yeah, that's a good point. He keep reiterating in this chapter, engineering is my dream. There's another really funny thing in this chapter with Solik, the Vulcan, his Vulcan, the fellow cadet. When Charlie, which is one of the other guys, he mentioned that Solik told him that he's not sure first contact with humanity was a good idea, so he joined Starfleet to acquire more data. Isn't that like true Vulcan for you?
It is so much. That's the same thing I thought. I was like, this just sounds so much like every Vulcan I've seen outside of Tuvok. Yes. Tuvok has probably been the only like straight up Vulcan that wasn't really trying to twist his actions, but like that just sounds like something Spock would have done, or like it's just, and he really wants to be in Starfleet. I really believe it, but it's not logical for him to say that, so he has to be there for that reason, right?
Yeah. So cool. And then we kind of ended the chapter with George McRae's barbershop, which, I haven't frequented many barbershops myself. Dare I say I've only been maybe once or twice in my lifetime. Because, of course, me and you, we kind of, being strapping young guys, we took upon ourselves to go to Walmart and get our own clippers and cut our own hair. And not give a crap if our hair looked jacked up until we learn how to do it.
And man, I give you a lot of credit when I'm talking to people, because they say, you cut your own hair? I was like, you know what? I had a friend, my old roommate, and he used to cut his hair, and he gave me the best advice. He said, man, you're going to get some clippers and you're going to mess it up a few times. Nothing you can't hide with a good line, but once you mess it up a few times, you'll know how to do it. And that has saved me, I don't know how many thousands of dollars at this point. But on the flip side of that, I have been to a few barbershops, so I kind of understand the feeling he's getting. And like a lot of people go to the barbershop to get a haircut, but a lot of times it's more of a social experience that they're going for. And, you know, this guy's McCrae, so I'm thinking maybe it's an Irish guy, and it's kind of, I don't know, I had in my mind, it was like an Irish pub setup type deal. And, you know, they're just having a good time. They're talking and they're talking crap, and that's just how it goes in barbershops. And true to form, there's always one barber in the shop that's the senior barber, that's the older guy. He's been there the longest. He's the best. He has the best advice, but he never takes walk-ins. Every barbershop I've been to, it's been the same thing. So I mean, that really resonated with me on that. My curiosity is, again, I'm probably reaching, but you know, this is McCrae, again, Irish. I don't know, was O'Brien Irish, right?
I assume that, but I can't say that 100% for sure. But I assume this character was Irish. I know the actor, I think, is Irish. The Colmini, I think he's Irish.
Wouldn't it be cool if this McCrae guy, like somehow they tie O'Brien into this and they meet at the barbershop?
You know, that's where I thought they were going. So we did get one Easter egg in this little part. We got Admiral Owen Paris was there, and he's the one who said, "Oh, you came in with the jambalaya." The jambalaya Susanna suggested that Benjamin bring to the barbershop. And, you know, Admiral Paris kind of saw that and said, "Oh, take my chair," as he got up and left. So I thought that was cool. A Voyager tie-in right there. But yeah, it's something about, you know, the relationship he makes here that I feel like is going to tie in somewhere else. Cause it seemed like it felt like it was important for them to say, this about McCrae, and also that he used to be a DJ and he has these big parties. So to me, it felt like an opportunity to meet more people through the parties, maybe even more so than the barbershop. And also interesting, they say in the barbershop, everybody's equal. We're all on equal footing. If you come in here, there's no admirals. Everybody's equal. Although he only takes the higher ranked people in his seat. So does that make sense? I don't know. We also, I thought that was in, but also we had the piece with Benjamin, you know, getting up early in the morning to work out because apparently the gym, like every gym, through the hours of 8 to 5, more so, well, 6 to 5 or 6 in the evening is full and packed, and you can barely get on any equipment. So, you know, he's taking some of that resolve he got from Zoe to get up early and come to the gym and make friends. Now, I wondered his name they mentioned at the very end. They dropped it like it's a big thing that I'm supposed to know. Carl Hudson. Is that somebody we're supposed to know?
Carl Hudson. Remember DS9? He was, if I'm not mistaken, and you know, I'll double check this, but I'm pretty sure he was the one that would sided with the Maquis. He was the black guy, and they went to visit him, and they were in the woods, and they cornered him, Sisko and a couple other people. But he was transporting weapons or something. I don't remember exactly which one, but he was part of the Maquis resistance.
Wow. See, I'm looking. He looked like he worked out. Okay. Oh yeah, I remember this guy. That's crazy. That is crazy, yo. Okay, I'm gonna show the picture real quick so we can see. If you're watching the video, we're gonna show the picture real quick. That is freaking cool, man. I'm glad you looked it up because I was like, who is this guy? They're making a big deal out of him. Well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Well, and I remember that episode because that was like, it was a big deal. You know, Sisko always not hated. He disliked anyone that went against the Federation that had taken the oath. But this one was personal because he had a friendship with this guy. And what I remember watching this episode, and it was actually 2 or 3 episodes went into this, but for whatever reason, and they never really went into their past other than the fact that I knew they had a past. So it's cool that we kind of get to see where that came into.
Yeah, that is freaking amazing. Wow, I should look that up. That's amazing tie-in. Wow. Yeah, I hope we get, apparently we're going to get more of Carl since we know they have this friendship, and this is just a beginning, you know, spotting him on the weight bench. So I can't wait to get more of that. That sounds freaking cool. I might have to go back and watch those episodes too.
he's the guy that got him to cross the 225 mark on the bench press. So that's important in a man's life.
John, me and you have never been in a gym spotting each other, have we?
I was I don't know. I don't know what I was doing.
Of course we have. Of course.
I was there. I was watching you do all the work. I couldn't lift the bar off
whatever,
the thing.
man. It's good times, man.
It
Good
was.
times. Yeah, and that's gonna wrap things up for chapters 9 and 10. You know, I think my recommended research is going to be research more on Mr. Carl Hudson, which, you know, I vaguely remember, but I haven't seen those episodes in quite a while, so I think I'm going to go back and watch them.
Well, one more callback, and reference for you listeners out there to look into. I don't remember which episode, but it was a TNG episode when Wesley Crusher went to take the entrance exam for Starfleet. And that's when he met a Benzonite, and he had a similar first meeting as our Ben Sisko is having here. So I think that will be important for everybody to watch, because I think we're going to see a lot more of this character in this book. And that will kind of give you a better insight into what type of culture that he has.
And a quick update on what we talked about the last 2 chapters. We talked about Parisi Squares and that we never seen it played in Star Trek. Well, you know what, John? If you ever do watch the latest season of Star Trek Prodigy, we do get a short little scene of actual play of, that's a spoiler, I'm sorry, this is a spoiler, but we do get actually a short little scene of them playing Parisi Squares. So I need to go back and watch it myself, but yeah, that was kind of cool. Do they show
the full playing field or court or whatever?
They show the field, and they show them actually playing for just a little bit as somebody opens the holodeck and, you know, the command officers walk in. But it's a very short little clip of actual play.
Why is it like this has been a thing for Trekkies for a long time that nobody has ever tried to or did anything to create a Parisi Squares anywhere? It's like it's one of those things like they just purposely want to hide it from you and not show you. And then the fact that they go as far enough to show a brief, it's like they're messing with you, right? Like they're just messing with you.
Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, you couldn't find a 3D chessboard, and somebody actually went through the trouble of making a 3D chessboard and the rules to go with it. Now, they're unbelievably hard to find, but it exists. You can see it, you can play it. I just want to play Parisi Squares in my backyard. Is that possible? Can we just get that together?
But do you? We know that, you know, you can get injured pretty easily, and yeah, I think we should see about that, because it was kind of cool seeing it, no doubt.
It couldn't be any worse than our racquetball games.
Oh man, let me tell you, people listening, racquetball, this guy right here, everything has to be a challenge. First is tennis, then it's racquetball, then it's table tennis. We went at it. There's some good years, man. It was some good years.
Now we're both old and can't move.
Yeah, some of us are nearing a half a century old. You know, some of us. I used to get mad because you said I was quarter century old, but I'm almost half a century old now. So.
I'll be 40 in next week.
You're not even 40 yet? Man, don't talk to me. You're not even 40 yet. Don't even talk to me, dude. Come on, man. Come on.
Getting there, man. Getting there.
We're going to wrap things up. Thank you all for joining. Of course, to get this episode early, you can go to patreon.com/discussing network, or it's also going to be on our podcast feed, as well as a little bit later on our YouTube feed. So definitely make sure you go check those out, subscribe, stay locked into those locations. John, I'm just glad to have you back. Picard Riker 2024, make it so, because let's not talk about elections. Let's leave it all alone, because oh my God, what is going on here? But this has been another episode of Logic Library, and you know, put that logic to good use and go find the book on the shelf somewhere. And with that, we'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the Discussing Network. Find out more at discussingnetwork.com.
Can I say that, like, shut up, Wesley? I can just go, shut up, Clarence?